A story has the power to teach us a life lesson and a new language at the same time. The parable you are about to hear, told in English, is a journey into the heart of chaos and calm. It's an immersive opportunity to enrich your vocabulary and sharpen your listening skills. Success demands sacrifice, but what if the sacrifice is your own soul? This is the story of a chef who reached the top of the world, only to discover that she was cooking herself on high heat. In the three-star kitchen of Madison in Manhattan, perfection was the only law. Her space wasn't a place of warm creation, it was a culinary war zone, and she was the general. Dishes were complex works of art, built with an engineer's precision and relentless demand. Her staff, young and talented, moved with silent fear, terrified by her gaze that found the slightest flaw. But the pressure cooker was about to explode, and the cooker was Madison herself. Sleepless nights were masked with caffeine. Blood pressure, measured in a rare moment of pause, was at dangerous levels. And the yelling in the kitchen became the soundtrack to her success. The collapse came on a Saturday night, at the peak of service. With the kitchen at its boiling point, Madison's world suddenly lost sound. The lights became distant stars, and she ended up on the floor. She woke up in the hospital, with the rhythmic beep of a monitor and the grave voice of a doctor. "Your body is screaming for you to stop, chef," said the doctor. "Reduce stress drastically, or the next collapse could be a stroke, and that's an order, not a suggestion." The doctor's order was the first instruction Madison couldn't optimize or perfect. It was a non-negotiable no from her own body. And so, the general of haute cuisine traded the sirens and steel of Manhattan for the birdsong and quiet streets of Cold Spring. She took refuge in the gathering table, her Aunt Abigail's restaurant. The place was the opposite of her empire, small, with checkered tablecloths and no Michelin stars. The only star there was the food. Simple, honest soups that warmed the soul. Abigail, a woman whose wrinkles told stories of patience, watched her niece for days. She saw her agitation, her need to complicate even the simplest salad. One afternoon, while stirring a large pot on the stove, she asked the key question, "Why do you complicate things so much, my dear?" Before Madison could answer, Abigail pointed with the spoon at the flame under the pot. "Life is like fire. If it's too strong, it burns. Too low, it doesn't cook. The secret isn't in expensive ingredients, it's in finding the right flame." That night, during dinner, Michael, Madison's uncle, the calloused-handed farmer who grew everything for the restaurant, made a proposal. "Before trying to control the fire, you need to understand the earth," he said. "Tomorrow, come to the farm. For a week, you'll only cook with what you harvest yourself." For a chef who could order any ingredient in the world, the idea was terrifying. She, the master of control, was being invited to surrender to the rhythm of the earth. Madison's first day on the farm was a battle. She, the chef who commanded kitchens with Swiss watch precision, was now at the mercy of nature's timing, a timing she couldn't control. She looked at the tomatoes, still green on the vine, and felt immense frustration. "Can't they ripen faster?" she asked Michael, as if the earth were a slow employee needing a scolding. She grew irritated with the slowness of the seeds, with the stubbornness of the roots. Michael watched his niece's war against time with a patient smile. He didn't scold her, he just knelt, grabbed a handful of soil, and showed it to Madison. "The earth doesn't lie, Madison," he said, his voice as calm as the landscape. It doesn't care about your deadlines or your Michelin stars. Everything has its cycle. The seed, the sprout, the flower, the fruit. You can't rush the root. You can only tend the soil and trust the process. Respect the rhythm. His words, so simple, yet so profound, began to germinate in Madison's mind. In the following days, she stopped fighting. She started to observe. Instead of demanding, she began to feel. She felt the moisture of the earth, the warmth of the sun, the aroma of the herbs when she touched them. By the end of the week, she was no longer a general demanding results. She was an apprentice, and as she harvested a perfectly ripe tomato, she did it not with the impatience of someone completing a task, but with the gratitude of someone receiving a gift. She was, finally, learning the language of patience. Back in Abigail's kitchen, Madison no longer felt like an exiled general, but a pilgrim returning to a sacred place. Her challenge wasn't to create a 3-star worthy dish. It was something much harder, to create something honest. On her counter, there were no exotic ingredients. There was only the reward of her week on the land, some potatoes, an onion, and a handful of fresh herbs. She began to cook, and, for the first time, she wasn't fighting against the clock. She remembered her aunt's words about the right flame. So, she turned on the fire, but kept it low, a gentle flame that didn't demand, but invited. She watched the onion sweat slowly, releasing its sweet aroma. She heard the soft sound of the soup bubbling. She was no longer orchestrating a chaos of techniques. She was participating in a slow, natural transformation. Hours later, a simple potato soup was ready. Abigail tasted it, smiled, and put it on the day's menu. A customer, a businessman, who seemed to carry the weight of the world on his shoulders, ordered the soup. He took the first spoonful, and then, he stopped. His eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry," he said to Abigail. His voice choked. It reminds me of my grandmother's soup." From the kitchen, Madison heard, and in that moment, all her Michelin stars, all her awards, seemed insignificant. She had spent her whole life trying to impress, and now, with the simplest dish she had ever made, she had achieved something infinitely more powerful. She had touched someone's soul. Madison returned to New York, but the chef who came back was not the same one who had left. She didn't abandon her pursuit of excellence, but redefined what excellence meant. It was no longer about complexity, but about connection. It was no longer about perfection, but about soul. Her kitchen, once a war zone, became a workshop of focus and calm. The yelling was replaced by conversations. The fury gave way to patience. Her dishes were still works of art, but now, they told a story. And to honor the lesson that saved her, she made a radical change to her 3-star menu. She created a low-flame corner, a small section dedicated to slowly cooked dishes, using simple, local ingredients, many from her uncle's farm. It was Abigail's potato soup in the heart of Manhattan, and it became the restaurant's most beloved dish. Our story ends not with Madison receiving another award, but with her teaching a new generation of young chefs in her now peaceful kitchen. She watches them, with the patience of a farmer and the wisdom of one who knows fire. And she gives them the most important lesson, not about technique, but about life. "Remember," she says, her voice calm and firm, "stress is the high flame. It burns fast and leaves a bitter taste. Calm is the low flame. It releases flavor slowly. Cook your food, and your lives, with patience. Find the right flame." Madison's story is a lesson for all of us living in a high-flame world. It reminds us that haste can burn the joy out of our lives, while patience allows the deepest flavors to reveal themselves. If this parable, about finding calm in chaos, resonated with you, leave a comment below telling us, In which area of your life do you need to lower the flame and practice a little more patience? Like and share this video so more people learn the recipe for calm. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that help you learn English. Until next time, breathe deep, respect the process, and find your right flame.